Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, before we start our class, just to recap, last week we already looked at how to install R and RStudio, right? And then we already know some basic of R command, right? And how to create a vector, and basically we already look at how to do a simple manipulation in R, and subsetting means using indexing and data frame for data set, right? So this week for today class, before we start with our class, so I require you to download some data, because we're going to start with importing data from others data set to our environment. So let's go to my website, naserdrive1.wixsite.com/nasir916, right? So this is my website. So you should visit my website regularly, right, to download to get some latest information about R. So now you need to go to R programming tab and go to data intro R. Data intro R. So click that tab and click download here. So you need to download all the data set. Sekejap so we need to open RStudio, right? Create a new R script. Go to File, New File, R script, right? So this is how we going to do that. Or else, I think maybe we can put everything in one project. So we can go to project here. You go to upper right hand side, right? On the top right hand side, kita nampak ini project none kan? So click on project none tu, and click on new project, right? Are you with me? Click on new project and then click on new directory. So it will appear a dialog box like this: new directory, existing directory, version control. So click on new directory and click on new project. Right, again, ulang semula. Go to project, this one, upper right hand side. So click on new project and it will appear a dialog box like this: new project, create project, new directory, and click on new project. Right, so once you already here, create a new project. So make sure you change your link for subdirectories to desktop, right? So we make all synchronous, right? So semua dekat desktop, right? And then create a directory name as importing data, right? Create as importing data and click on create project. Semua dapat? Do you got the same thing?
Dapat, sir.
Dapat and click on create project. So once you already click on create project, so it will create a new project for you. So kalau you nampak dekat atas ni, on the upper right hand side, it will appear importing data, the file that we already created lah. So if you go to desktop, so you akan nampak satu folder name as importing data, right? Right. So dalam ni, bila you buka the folder, you will see importing data project. This is our project, means that if you want to reopen next time reopen the project, so you just click on importing data, R project. So it will have you will see all the working space yang you dah create. Right, let's go back to my RStudio. Now, so we create file, new file, RScript. File, new file, RScript to open a new RScript, right? So then for RScript, so you save as importing data. Importing data, lecture, right? So click on save. So this is how we create a RScript inside the project, right? So you will see in your working directory, you have importing data.rproj and importing data dash lecture.r, right? So if you want to see your working directory address, so just type get wd, right? You will see our current working directory at desktop importing data. So I think this one you already know. Last week we already look at this one. So now since you already download all the data, so you already download the data kan? So all the data set tadi tu, let's say mine I letak kat sini kan, this is my data set. So I need to copy all my data set dekat sini, except R and R history. So I buang this one, these two I buang. I tak nak lah, this one, this is my work, current work lah. So I just copy, right? So once you already download daripada my Dropbox, you akan dapat semua data ni, right? You copy this one and go to your desktop, right? And click on importing data folder, right? Importing data folder, you paste dekat dalam sini. So this is all your data set lah. So you no need to change the directory to call the data set, right? So last week we already looked at how we import the importance of creating our working directory. Today I will show you why we need to create a working directory, right? So have you done this one? This step done? Sudah? Right. So you can close down. And then kalau you tengok dekat file kat bawah ni, you akan nampak semua file of dataset yang you dah paste tadi. Right? So I dah paste dekat sini. Right. Now, to begin with, so this is a lecture for importing data set into R environment. Right. So now let's look at how to import data from base package. Base package means that you no need to download any or to install any outside package into our environment. So we are going to use available package in our base, right? So now we're going to look at how to import data from CSV file. So CSV file, this is using read.table, right? So now CSV file, if you don't know what is CSV file is data comma separated value. Comma separated value, let's say you tengok dekat folder importing data tadi tu dalam dataset, you can see demo file demo. Dekat sini type Microsoft Excel comma separated value. So if you double click this one, if you have installed your Excel Microsoft Excel in your computer, it will open the file in the Excel platform lah, right? Wait for a while. So this is the data set, right? If you can see in this data set, since it opened using Excel platform, right? So you cannot see the separated delimiter. So I believe you already learned delimited in your database subject, right? We have comma delimited, space delimited, tab delimited, slash delimited, and so on, right? So kalau kita tengok kat sini, tak nampak lah dia punya original dataset presentation. So if you right click on demo dataset, right? So you click on open with. So I believe you are using a window, right? You are using Windows OS kan? Bukan Mac kan? Ada yang guna Mac. Kalau ada yang menggunakan Mac, Apple, so you need to open in text, right? So click open with and choose Notepad. Choose Notepad. So if you can see in data from a Notepad, so each data point are separated by comma. So this is why we said this is a comma separated value. So each data point are separated by comma, right? So some dataset have a different delimiter. If you download the dataset from database, right? Sometimes you will see a tab delimiter, space delimiter, semicolon delimiter, right? Or slash delimiter. It depend on the database that you are using. So the reason why we are using comma separated value, because comma separated value can produce less weight of the dataset lah. So dia punya byte ataupun size of the file is very light compared to Excel. So if you can see from the dataset dekat sini, kalau kita tengok demo satu lagi, Microsoft Excel 97-2003, this is the same dataset. But if you can see, the size of the dataset for Excel is 1 megabyte, 1.4 megabyte. For demo, CSV file is 457 kilobyte. So basically, comma separated value produce a less byte of size of file, right? So kalau kita nampak dekat sini, each data value are separated by comma, right? So now there are some requirement that you need to make sure before we import our data to our environment, right? First requirement is the first row of the data set should consist your variable name. You should write down this one. So the first row should consist of your variable name, and your variable name should not start with number. Should not start with number and should not have any space. As in Spss, if you are using Spss previously, same as Spss, variable name should not consist any space, should not start with numbers, right? That is the requirement. Should not start with any symbol, right? So if you can see, dekat variable number 2, this is age. Variable number 2, column number 2, marital status. Marital status, dia ada space dekat marital and status. If you convert to our environment, it will not appear marital space status. It will convert this variable name to marital dot status. Boleh faham, ha? So that is a different, this is a requirement before you convert or import the data set to our environment. And the second requirement is the second row onwards should consist the data value, right? Mesti ada data value lah. And your data set should not have any notes or comment, right? Tak boleh ada data set ni, you letak macam ni. Some data set you download from a website. Sometimes there ada comment dekat bawah, right? So that is a bad dataset, you need to clear or clean the dataset before you import into R. Same as in SPSS, you need to clear and make sure all the requirement are met before you import the dataset into SPSS jugalah. Minitab, Stata, semua the same requirement. Right? And make sure, first tadi I cakap, first make sure the first row consists of your variable name, and your variable name should not start with numbers, should not start with any symbols, right? Should not consist of space, white space. So kalau kita tengok dekat sini, the variable number 2, marital status, right? Nampak tak marital status? So marital status, marital blank status. So this is one of the bad variable name before you import. If you import this kind of data set, R will convert marital space status to marital dot status. Dia akan jadi macam ni, marital dot status. Right. So tak apa, kita biar macam ni, kita tak tengok betul tak I cakap tu. Right. So you can close your Excel file or you can leave it. Now we're going to import this kind of data set to R by using a base package. So we are trying to use the first function, which is read.table. So if you want to know how to use read.table, so you can type on question mark read.table. Right. So you can hit enter, so you can nampak dia punya what they call documentation, how to use read.table. So of course in read.table ni dia adalah daripada read.table package, which is util package. Right, this is a ready-made package. We don't need to download or install any others package. So the description is read a file in a table format and create a data frame from it. So this is very useful because once we already import the data into R, it will automatically create a data frame from it, and with a case corresponding to lines and variable to fill in the file. So this is the function, right? So the argument is the file header is equal to false, right? Means that by default it will not include the first row as your variable, right? Dia tak akan baca this one sebagai variable. So you need to change this one to true, and then separated equal tu dia letak blank dekat sini. So you need to put comma, right? Let's look at how to use it. So let me create this one as a data1, right? We want to store this data set to data1, right? And before we proceed with this one, so you need to make sure our current working directory is importing data, and our directory should consist the dataset demo.csv, right? By looking at directory, open bracket, double comma, inverted comma, and dot, right? So we're going to call demo.csv. So we're going to use read.table demo.csv, right? As in a demo documentation file, second argument, right, is header. So by default header is false in this function. We need to change to header equal to true, right? And then we need to specify our separator, right? Our separator by default in this function is blank, so we need to change to comma because this is our this file is a comma separated value, right? Are you with me? So you all okay? Boleh faham? You can follow?
Boleh, sir.
Right, good. So once you
Boleh,
already
boleh.
type this function, read.table, comma, you first input your file value, file name, which is demo.csv. You need to separate by, for another argument, separate by comma. Header equal to true means that we want our first row read as a variable name, right? And then separated by comma. That's all. So you just hit Control and Enter. So once you hit Control and Enter, you nampak dekat sini, dekat console, you already run the codes, and then dia keluar dekat sini, ready for the next analysis. So if you go to environment, you can see the dataset is already import into our environment, right? Which is we rename the dataset demo.csv as data1. We store the data file into the data1. So in data1 consists of 6,400 observation of 28 variables, right? So if you can see, because original dataset ni, so we have basically 28 variables, right? And we have 6,400 observation, right? So this one minus dengan data variable name lah, right? So if you want to see your data set, right? Let's say kita nak tengok name of variable name. We want to see the variable name, variable names, right? We just type names data1. So it will show us all the variable names inside the data set, right? So kalau kita perasan tadi, I cakap benda yang sama. The second variables, right? Our second variable is marital space status. Kalau kita convert into R, it will convert to marital dot status, right? So the variable name cannot have white space. We cannot have space in a variable name. We cannot start with numbers. We can start with any characters followed by numbers, but we cannot start with numbers, right? We cannot start with any symbols, right? That is the requirement. So now, this is how, if you want to look at the variable name, if you want to see the dimension of the data set, right, we just type dim data1. So now we can see dimension means that it will show us how many observation and how many variables. So dimension is like a matrix punya presentation, right? So start with rows, number of rows and number of column. So this is 6,400 rows and 28 columns. And we can also see to see the structure of the data type. So we just type str data1, right? So if you can see in the structure of the dataset 1, so kita nampak dekat sini, this is str data1. So the dataset is already convert into a data frame. So this is a data frame dataset. 6,400 observation of 28 variables. The first variable is age. Age, the data type for age is integer, consists of this number. Marital.status, this is second data set, also convert as integer. But in a real data set, if you this is not clean data set because we convert this data set from a CSV file. So we need to do some data cleaning. Nanti kita akan tengok on the next lecture how to do a data cleaning. So by default, by right, marital status should be a factor, right? So 1 is represent male, 0 represent female, right? 1 is represent married, 0 is represent not married, right? So we will change this one later. So if you look at gender here, right, dekat sini, dia dah convert this one to as a factor because the first is F, M, right? So R will automatically detect which data type should be integer, which data type should be numeric, which data type should be character or factor. But sometimes, most of the time, R is making a mistake. So we need to clear up and re-cleaning our data type of the data set. Right? So kita akan declare balik nantilah. So how kita akan tengok next lecture. So this is how to see the structure of the data type. So now we're going to look at another function by using util data set packages, right? So importing CSV file using read.csv. So this is another function that I think really fast function to import the dataset in R. So nanti kita tengok the comparison of using read.table and read.csv. So now we're going to use the same dataset, which is demo, right? So we're going to use read.csv function. So kita tengok dekat sini, dekat package, dekat help document tadi. Dalam util package data import, so kita ada read.table, kat bawah ni kita ada read.csv, read.csv2, read.delimiter, read.delimiter2, and itu saja kita ada dalam util package. Right, kita nak tengok read.csv. So what is the difference between read.table and read.csv? Read.table and read.csv can also can be used to import CSV file, but for read.csv is designed specifically to import CSV file, because kita tengok dekat dia punya argument. The first argument is file, the second argument is header equal to true. We no need to specify header again, and a separated is already predefined as comma. Right? Compared to the read.table, header is equal to false, separated is not specified. So if you have tab delimiter, tab delimiter, space delimiter, semicolon delimiter, we can use read.table because we can change the separator value and we can change the header argument also. Right. So now let's use read.csv. So I'm going to store this one as a data2, right? So read.csv. So the file is demo.csv, right? So basically that's all that we need to specify. Is basic. If you compare with read.table and read.csv, read.csv is much simpler function to use. You don't need to specify header is equal to true and separator value, because by default the header is already equal to true and separator is already equal to comma. Right? Are you with me? Can you follow?
Yes, sir.
Right, good. So you hit enter, you can see R is already read the value, the file into R environment, and next kita nampak macam ni, more than, and dia maksudnya R is ready for the next analysis. If you look at the environment, you can see we already import the data too, which is the same data set. It consists of same observation and variables. We can copy this one again and letak dekat bawah ni, and change the names to data2, dimension to data2, str also data2, right? So kita tengok names, dia akan display benda yang sama lah, benda yang sama dekat atas ni, dimension also same, structure also same. So benda yang sama, right? So the difference between data read.table and read.csv, apa dia? In read.csv, you can write this one. Read.csv, we no need to specify the separator for CSV file because by default the separator is comma, and header is already defined as true, means that dia akan baca the first row of the dataset as your variable name. But for read.table, if you have a tab delimiter file, a tab delimiter file or space delimiter, semicolon delimiter, right? So you should use read.table. Boleh? Alright, just now I already show you how to see the variable names, the dimension of the dataset, the structure of the dataset. So I forgot one thing. We can also view the dataset. To view the dataset in R. So to view the dataset in R, we're just using function view with capital V. View, let's say view data 1. Oops. So it will display the dataset that we already import into R, right? Okay. So nanti kita akan tengok the next lecture how to do a subsetting using indexing, right? Just for today, we're going to see how to import and export the dataset, right? So let's look at another function by using read.table, right? So if you look at data1.text document, so this is a data1 text document. Nanti I have to tutup this one first. So you double click this one. If you can see in this dataset, data1.text document, dia dapat can you find the dataset? Right? Actually data1 this is type text document, right? So you open this one. If you can see, this is the same dataset on the demo dataset, but by looking at the data file, kita nampak dekat sini each data point are separated by apa ni? These are separated by space, by tab, by comma, by semicolon. Yang mana satu?
Dot.
Dot. Tak nampak dot pun. Mana ada dot kat sini?
Space.
So kalau space, kalau kita tengok dekat sini nak tahu senang saja. Kita letak satu dekat 3 ni, right? Dekat 3 ni kita tekan backspace, right? Kalau kita tekan space, menyatu saja kan? Tekan space balik, kita tekan tab, dia balik kepada normal. So this is a tab delimiter. Very easy to understand. So this is a tab delimiter. Kita tahu tab delimiter. Once you already know this is a tab delimiter, so your task is try to import data1.txt into and store the data into data3. So your task is try to import data1.txt and store it into data3. So letak kat data3. So can you tell me which one we want to use? Either read.csv or read.table. So we already know that this data1.txt is a type delimiter. Data1.txt is a tab delimiter. So what kind of function that we want to use? Read.table or read.csv, or you can see, yes, it should be read.table lah, because for read.csv is specifically designed for CSV file. For type delimiter, other type of delimiter is specifically designed for read.table. Right, we can use read.table to download, to import the file with type delimiter, right? But we can also use another function. Nanti kita tengok, kalau kita tengok dekat sini, right? Dekat documentation, kita tengok documentation dekat sini. Dia kata dekat sini, for SEP is the field separator character. Value of each line of the file are separated by this character. If SEP equal to nothing, so by default is for read.table, right? The separator is white space, right? So for type delimiter, kita boleh change dalam separator argument ni lah. So can you find how to use this? So macam mana nak guna? Boleh fikir sekejap tak? Macam mana nak buat? Can you do it? I will pick a name lah. I will pick a name. So you share your screen. Nur Aina Amalina, can you share your screen? So I will unshare my screen. So you share your screen and show how we're going to use that to import data1 into R. Data1.txt. Mana tadi nama apa? Nur Aina Amalina Ibrahim. Mana DP? Dah hilang dah? Terus keluar daripada kelas I ke? Okay lah, I pick somebody lah, lain. Myra Rafisa. Can you try? try first. I go to toilet first. I think salah. Okay, right, good. So next, try buka, boleh tak? You see? Tak dapat kan? Because the data file is separated by tab. It's not separated by comma. So if you can see, data tree you ada satu variable saja. Because dia takkan baca variable lain. Right? So please unshare. Right. So now, since our data set is having a tab delimiter, right, means that from a first data point to the second data point is separated by tab. So tab is, kalau kita tengok menggunakan read.table, right? So put data1.txt. So our header should be equal to true. Header equal to true, and then separator should be \tab. So this is the symbol for tab delimiter. So I believe you already learned this in database subject, right? So we already know the tab delimiter, space delimiter, and so on. So you just click enter. So kalau kita nampak dekat sini, dia akan download all the data set, right? Okay. So another function that we can use, right, which is read.delim. Read.delim, benda yang sama juga, header equal to true, right, separated by tab. So we no need to specify any header argument and separator argument. Let's say I put it into data4, right, read.delim, right, just type data1.txt. So just download macam tu saja. You can import just like that. No need to type further argument. Right? Okay. Are you okay? Student, are you okay?
Okay.
Alright. Now, let's say we already import some data, right? So, I think my computer, I menggunakan komputer yang dekat rumah, so mine is very slow right now. Right, I need to remove some data set, rm data 3 and data 4. Right. So dia berat sikit. My computer dia tak boleh nak make berat sangat. Right. So now I will show you how to another function, which is if we want to see some data from the dataset. So sometimes if you are importing a very large dataset, right, for example, a million rows of the dataset or millions of variables of the dataset, to type view function, it might be not very practical. It will slow down your PC, your machine, if you have a very limited RAM. So dia akan bagi you punya experience of R is very slow lah. So for this data is quite small, so tak ada issue lah, tak ada issue, right? So if you want to see first 6 observation in the dataset, so we're going to use head function data 1, for example. This is the data yang I nak tengok, head. So kalau kita tengok the function of documentation of head, right? So return the first or last part of the object, right? So if you are using head, it will return the first 6 observation, right? So kita tengok dekat dia punya function head, the first argument is your object. N equal to 6L means that we're going to show you first 6 observation of the dataset. So by default, it will show you first 6 observation lah. Right, first 6 observation. You can also specify if you want to see first 10 observation, you just type 10, right? Ataupun N equal to 10, right? So dia akan show your first 10 observation, right? Next is to see last 6 observation in the data set. So we just use tail data 1, right? So it will show us the last 6 observation. If you want to see the last 10 observation in your data set, you just type N equal to 10, right? That is how we see or look at the data for first 6 observation or last 6 observation, right? So we can change how many data we want to see, whether the first 6 or the first 10 and so on, right? Remember last class we already looked at how to use index, right? Let's say I want to see first 6 observation for first 3 variable. So how can I do this? Remember, kita boleh combine the function kan? This is the first 6 observation kita boleh tengok. And then how to see the first 3 observation variables. Remember we use indexing function data 1. This is the function to see the first 6 observation, right? If you want to see the first 3 observation, let's say we just use indexing, comma, this is for displaying all the observation, first 1 to 3. So remember, the first argument in indexing is representing row, the second argument is representing column, right? So we can see the first 3 variable and first 6 observation, right? Okay, so let's say kita nak tambah sikit, kita nak tengok the first 10 observation for the first 3 variables. So we just put another argument. Kita menggunakan the same function dekat sini, just type N equal to 10, right? Okay, so now I'm going to show you another one which is by using package to import CSV file. Right. So by using package, so nanti I akan bagi dekat you assignment, right? Basically I already created the assignment for you. You have a long assignment to complete for this this whole week, right? So we're going to use a library read R package, right? So can you type library read R? Can you get it? I believe you don't have it, right? Because you are the first. Your R is not yet downloading any packages. So for the first time user, we can type install packages and then double comma, inverted comma, read R. So you install this one, hit enter, it will install the packages for you. Or another way, you can go to package, right, and click on install. So we're going to install the package readr from CRAN, right, a comprehensive R archive network. So we just type read R. So you just find read R and install it into your library. And then ini tak payah kacau lah. And click on install. That's how we install the package lah. So you just wait until the installation finish. So installation finish sampai dia kata installation is successful. So semua sudah install? Can you install now?
That's it.
Right. So once you already installed, you just type library read R. So we're going to use library read R to import the CSV file dataset into R environment. Right. So for read R, we have another function we call as a read underscore CSV. So there is a difference between, this is a different function from read.csv. Read.csv is the function from util package. You no need to install outside packages, right? But for read underscore CSV is basically same function to import CSV file. But there is a pro and cons by using read.csv and read underscore CSV. If you have a very large dataset means that millions row or millions variables, right? It will save your time of reading the dataset. For example, if you are using read.csv, let's say you have dataset, a very big dataset. Let's say using a read.csv, it will take you 15 minutes to load the data into your R environment. But for read underscore CSV, it will cost you maybe less than 10 minutes. The time of loading the data is much lesser compared to read.csv, right? So let's look at the documentation, read underscore CSV. So the documentation sama juga is have a same value. So read underscore CSV and read underscore TSV is special case for general read underscore delimiter. They are useful for reading the most common type of file data, comma separated value, tab separated value, respectively. So the difference is when you are using read underscore CSV, so it will convert your dataset into table. Instead of data frame, it will convert your data set into table. Table is the current data set format in R, right? So it's a innovative function lah. So it has a pro and cons, nanti kita akan tengok. So now, let's look at the function, how to use it. Read underscore CSV. First, we need to call file. Call names, another argument call name is equal to true. Call types is equal to null. And basically, we no need to specify anything. Right? Just our file name. Right? Right now. So let's say I'm going to store this file to data 3 read underscore CSV. So I just call demo.csv. That's all. Right? So once you already call the data, so dia akan nampak dekat sini, pass with column specification, gender dia akan convert to character. Remember tadi str data 1 yang kita tengok tadi, yang kita import tadi kan, ingat tak? Str data 1 gender originally import as factor, right? So this is a data frame. So kalau kita tengok str data 3, which is the data that we store with using read underscore CSV. So kita tengok dekat sini, gender dia specify as character. That's all. And dia akan beritahu kat kita, this is a double, this is double, and so on. Double means integer, right? So next, dekat atas ni kita nampak dia convert data set to table. Table is also equivalent to data frame, right? So now I will show you the difference between table and data frame. So remember, our data one is by using read.table, right? Or data 2, we can use a data tool juga lah. So let's say I call data 2. Data 2, I hit enter. So it will show us all the variable, the data point in the data set dalam console, right? Kalau you, and then dia akan reach max lah kalau you kena adjust reach max. Okay. So kalau kita type data 3, so dia akan keluar sikit saja. This is based on table. This is the most efficient what we call as a function. So we no need to create another function head untuk tengok dia punya overview of the data set. Right. So kita tengok dekat sini, age dia dah bagi tahu this is a double, this is double, right, and so on. Kalau kita tengok gender, this is a character. So we know this is a non-numeric data. This is all others variable is a numeric data, right? So now let's see the time of loading, right? To compare time to load in R. So let's say, you tak payah buat pun tak apa. I just nak tunjuk dekat you. See kalau kita menggunakan this is a very small data, right? Kalau you are using read underscore CSV, it will take you 0.08 second. If you are using read underscore CSV, it will take you 0.05 second. So this one is kita tak nampak very significant time loading, because this is very small data. If you have a very big data, then it will see the impact of loading the data set. Okay, all right. Now let's look at how to import Microsoft Excel file. Right. So to import Microsoft Excel file into R. So make sure you practice this one later, right? Because all of this will be in your test. So to import Excel file, right? So we're going to use one function, one package, which is one package is called as library read Excel. Right, if you don't have a library read Excel, you can download this library, install.packages read Excel. Can you install this one first? Boleh dapat tak? If you have problem, I will show you another option. Can you get it? Can you install the library? Boleh?
Boleh ke?
Boleh?
Hmm.
Boleh ke tak boleh?
Boleh sangat.
Boleh. Right. So kalau boleh, you akan dapat library read Excel. Boleh run read Excel as usual. If you cannot, you can go to file, right, and click on import dataset, right, from Excel. Again, file, import dataset from Excel. So this is another way to import the dataset lah. Instead of writing a coding, right, you're just using click button, right? This is the old this is a traditional way to import the dataset in R, right? For those who cannot move on for using SPSS, you boleh guna this one lah. Yang tak boleh move on. But basically this is a first step, right? If you cannot install read Excel, then we can use read from Excel, this one. Benda yang sama juga, so you just import the data. So before you, yang tak boleh install tu, dia akan, bila you tekan, dia akan install the package first, right, for you. So that's all, right? Kita akan guna coding juga, right? My computer really slow right now, so I kena buang beberapa data. RM data 3 So using read SL, right? So you run library read SL. Remember dalam directory U tadi, we have Excel file data3.xl xls, right? So kalau you ada the newer file xlsx pun boleh juga. You just need to specify, right? But before we start with importing the Excel file, same thing we need to make sure is to look at your data file. So let's look at demo Microsoft Excel 97-2003 worksheet. Right? You just double click this one. Right, now, as you can see in your Excel file, so the first row is your variable name, right? And second row is onward is your data set, data value, right? Same concept, same set of criteria. The variable name should not consist and it should not start with numbers, should not start with any symbols, it should not have any space, right? And your data set should not consist any command, right? Or any notes, right? Nanti kita akan tengok once we download the data from the website. I can show you how to download data from website. Very simple. Right, and you need to make sure in Excel file, you have sheet, right? So dalam Excel file, this one demo sheet, and this is a sheet number 1. Sheet number 1 also contain data. Dekat sini. This is a not very good data set presentation dalam ni. So we know that we're going to import this file from demo sheet. Right. So now, kalau kita tengok dia punya help document, this is, sorry, we're going to use read underscore Excel. Right. Document read underscore Excel. So we're going to use this function. In read underscore Excel, it can import the data from XLS or xlsx. So you can use specifically the different function read underscore xls or read underscore xlsx, right? Benda yang sama. So we're going to use the general function, which is read underscore Excel. So the first argument is parts. Parts is our file name, and we need to specify the sheet. Where is our sheet, right? Range if you want to specify it, and so on. So that's all. Basically, that's all. Right. So now I'm going to store this data into data3 read underscore Excel. Right, file yang kita nak ambil apa? Let's say kita look at our directory. Our directory, kita nak ambil this file, data3.xls. So just copy this one, letak dalam sini. Right. And we know that we're going to import from sheet. Sheet apa? Sheet demo kan? So if you know the name of the sheet, you just type demo. Right. Right. So hit enter. Oops. Sorry, I mungkin letak sini juga. Oh, sama juga. Apa nama sheet ni? Demo. Kenapa tak keluar? Sorry, I nak ambil yang data yang I tengok tadi salah. This is the data3.xls, and this is the current data file yang kita tengok adalah demo, right? Demo SLS. So it's wrong data file. So that's why tak boleh buka. Right? Demo.xls sheet demo, right? Again, I ulang balik. Tadi I salah tengok. The data3.xls is not the current file yang kita tengok ni. The current file sekarang adalah demo, right? And we have demo sheet. So just copy this file name demo.xls and put in your sheet name demo, and you enter. Right? So once you already enter, dia akan baca lah dekat you. You can see the data set consists of 6,400 observation and 28 variables. It's the same data set basically. And so let's say kita ada banyak sheet dalam ni. Let's say for example we have many sheet and we don't want to type in the name of the sheet, right? Kita tahu this is the sheet number 1, this is sheet number 2, right? So we can also type, instead of typing the name of the sheet, we just type 1 sheet equal to 1. Benda yang sama. Right, you can see the data value. Let's say kalau I nak ambil daripada sheet number 2, let's say sheet number 2, I just copy this one, tukar kepada 2, right? So kita nampak dekat sini dia akan ambil sheet number 2, right? If you can see sheet number 2 ada A, B, C, D, right? 1, 2, no value, 3, right? So in R, no value, missing value is noted as NA. Okay? Boleh? Boleh ke boleh? Boleh ke boleh? Okay, so right. So far, do you have any problem? Any questions so far? For those yang ada bad internet connection, not to worry, because I'm recording this session. Right, later, maybe tomorrow I can upload dalam YouTube. Right, so make sure you subscribe my YouTube channel and don't forget to click on my bell button. Right. So let's look at some function to import the data from Spss file. So let's say you have Spss file to import data from Spss data file. So to import data from Spss data file, I will show you two useful packages, right? So by default, by using you can use existing packages, which is library foreign. So this, I think this is, you should have these packages inside your R. Ada tak? If you don't have, you need to install it. I think I believe you already have the foreign package. You have foreign package?
Yes, sir.
Right, good.
Yes, sir.
I think foreign package is ready-made, right, with R base. So this is the first packages. Right. Let's look. I just want to cancel this one. So now this is SPSS data file, right? Demo. Basically, kalau you open buka ni, lambat sikit, my computer very slow. You try to open your file using SPSS data SPSS file. My computer very slow, so kalau you dah buka, you boleh tengok sendiri. Alright, so this is SPSS data file from demo dataset. So basically we have a same data value, right? But in SPSS we have 29 variables, right? Lebih satu variable compared to CSV file. So the difference between CSV file previously yang kita download tu, yang kita import tadi tu, in SPSS file, some values such as marital status already have label, right? They are the label and they are the values, right? For each variable data point lah, which is 0 is unmarried, 1 for married. And then we have income category. So 1 is under $25, 4 is $75 and above, right? So basically importing data from SPSS file or other statistical file should be well defined data set, right? So if you can look at the data variable name, so variable name of the data set is comply with our requirement, right? Normally we have no issues in converting SPSS file into R data set, right? So now to import the data file, so we know that we're going to use this file, which is demo.sav, right? Demo.sav. This is a data file for SPSS, right? So I'm going to store this data into data tree. So the function that I'm going to use is read.spss. So in read.spss, kita tengok dia punya documentation. Always look at the documentation before you use the function, right? You tengok read.spss is to read a file stored by SPSS, save and or export command. So this was originally written in 2000, right? Has a limited support for change in SPSS format. So this function is a limited function. If SPSS have not made any changes for the dataset format, so we can still use the packages. Or else, nanti I tunjuk the newer packages, which is very heaven, right? So sangat cepat berbanding dengan read.spss. So read.spss, so the first argument is file. We need to define our file name. Use .value label, which is equal to true by default. Dia akan import all the value label. Value label dekat sini 0 for unmarried, 1 for married. Dia akan import sekali. The first argument is true. To data frame is false, right? In R, we want our data set to be in a data frame format. So we need to change this one to true, right? So next and lain-lain semua tu benda yang sama lah, tak perlu nak ubah pun. Use missing to data frame, read encode is NA, alright? This is a standard value, standard argument. So we're going to start to import the data demo.sav. Just copy this name. Make sure sama lah, right? And then we put to.data.frame equal to true, right? Sekejap sekejap, I ada kelas lah, nanti I call balik. Okay. Alright. Basically that's all lah. So remember last class, either you want to type T, capital T or TRUE, it's the same thing in R. Right, so this is how to import the data lah, SPSS data into R. So you just hit enter. So you can nampak dekat sini dia akan bagi sedikit warning message. What is the warning message? Undeclared 2 levels 2 added in variable marital. So kita akan nampak why this is very good packages. Right, kita nampak dekat sini. Dia kata undeclared levels to added in variable marital. Right. So dekat sini dia dah bagi tahu kat kita ada suspicious number dalam variable marital. Right. As we know, marital, this is a marital status, 0 and 1 is coded as 0 and 1. Right? It's coded as 0 and 1. So kalau kita tengok marital kat sini 01, 01, 01. Kalau kita run the analysis, kita akan nampak dekat sini it's supposed to be numeric. Yeah, it's supposed to be nominal, kan? Measurement scale. This is the most important part in statistics. Macam last class pun I dah beritahu dekat you. The most important part before we start with any analysis is to make sure our data type is correct. Right? So marital status should be nominal. Right? So we run the analysis. Kita tengok dekat sini. Ada satu data value yang tak ikut label. Right? 0 is unmarried, 1 is married. Tiba-tiba ada 1, 2 kat sini. So this is something yang not right lah. We need to rectify this value nanti. So by default in R dia dah bagi tahu warning dah. Right? Instead of using Spss tak bagi tahu apa-apa langsung, dalam R dia dah bagi tahu. This is the warning. Dia ada satu outlier dalam tu. Satu benda alien dalam dataset. Right. So this is how we import the data into R. So let's say we can use dimension data3 to see the dimension of the dataset, str data3 to see the structure of the dataset. So this is well-defined dataset, and we already convert it to the data frame. We have 6,400 observation and 29 variables. Right. Marital status, we have 3 levels. Right. By default is 2, but now we have 3 because R is detecting ada satu value 2 ni yang alien. Right, we need to rectify later. Right, nanti kita tengok dalam cleaning dataset. Right. So another function, another package, second package, which is library heaven. So if you don't have library heaven, you need to install the library first. Right? Install library heaven. You try to install the packages heaven. Right? So you can use to install by using coding. I think the best way is to use coding. Right? Or the second way is to use package. This one is very slow. You need to click on install. Otherwise, you can use file, import dataset from Spss. Just to get the installation. So if your installation is unsuccessful by using this code, you can use file, import dataset, click from Spss. You can install the packages from here. Alright. Can you install? Have you successfully installed the package?
Yes, sir.
Right, good. So if you already installed the package, you should be able to call the package. Library heaven. Right? So in library heaven, we are using a function name as read underscore sav. Read underscore sav. So if you can notice, the function that we are using, read underscore csv, read underscore xl, and read underscore sav is the packages created by RStudio team. So it headed by Hadley Wickham. This is the most famous developer in R. So still alive. So read underscore sav. But before we start using read underscore sav, we should look at the documentation. So read underscore SAV, read both SAV and ZSAV files. Read underscore POR means we can read POR, portable SPSS file. Right. So the argument, first argument is the file name, encoding null, user and a false, and nothing to input lah. Basically they will import everything. And the difference between read.spss and read_sav is read_sav will convert your dataset to table format. Table format is equivalent to data frame and very fast in loading the data value. Right, let's input the data demo.sav. So that's all, very simple, no warning value. So different with compared to read_spss, it will give us some warning lah, right? So you can choose either to use read.spss or read_spss. So both can work well, but read_sav is the current work of importing data of SPSS data. This is the oldest function lah. So maybe in future, if SPSS doing some tweak dalam dia punya dataset file, so maybe read.spss can be used, right? So you should always prefer to use read_sav, right? Okay, now there are something like importing data from Stata SPSS pun ada juga, tapi I will not show it to you today, right? So I'm going to leave it as an assignment, right? Assignment I dah bagi dekat you. If you look at into your data camp punya website, tengok dalam team you, right? Your team is group B kan? Yours is group B. I letak dalam assignment. So you ada beberapa assignment. So suppose you already complete the data frame, walaupun today is the last date to submit all the assignment, right? You can start with importing data from flat file with util. This is basically whatever we already discussed this morning, right? So dia akan discuss balik, right? You should complete this one. All of these are paid course, so you should appreciate all the assignment you have. I already paid for you, right? Read R and data.tables. Data.table ni I tak tunjuk tadi, tapi simple saja. Nanti kita tengok lah. You boleh tengok dalam sini. Dia ada fread function, import Excel data, importing data from web part 2. Basically this is the second one. Letak atas sikit. Tak apa, you should complete the part 1 first and go to part 2 lah, right? And importing data from statistical software packages. So I think we stop there first, right? Nanti esok next class kita akan discuss on importing data from Stata, importing data from internet or URL from website, importing data from zip file, and then we're going to look at how to export the data to Excel, CSV, text file, and so on, or other statistical packages, right? So far, do you have any question? Don't forget to save this one, right? So later, bila dah habis guna this session, you just click on upper right hand side, just click on close project. Close project, dia akan closing the project, right? This is I'm teaching you how to use project. So nanti you buka semua dah ada dalam tu, tak payah cari-cari. So this is bila you dah close project, dia akan balik kepada project none lah. So bila you nak buka balik project, you just click on project. Nah ni open project. Open project, you cari dekat desktop, you letak project tadi kan. Importing data, you click on R project, importing data. So dia akan buka balik lah. You tunggu sekejap. Dia akan buka balik working directory you. Very easy to use. Semua working R code, working data file semua akan ada dalam sini. Right. So this is the best way, this is the faster way to call the data. Right. Next class, I will show you how to get the data without setting up a working directory. Right. Very simple juga. So make sure you refresh back your knowledge on this one. And okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.